Southern California Edison Transmission. We're the little brother to distribution. They have a lot more people than we do. We have fewer people. This is our AUD implementation. My name is Kelly Westfall. I'm an advisor in the transmission design support. I've been 3 years in design support and in the transmission space. Before that, I was 12 years as a planner, designer, and distribution. And before that, I was 5 years at electrical contractors doing more field work. So that's some basic SCE stats. Our service area is 50,000 square miles of Southern California, 12,635 miles of transmission lines. We have approximately 50 planners that work all that service area. We divide it into 8 grids that are spread out across the territories. We implemented AUD 2020 in early 21, and then we didn't have it mandatory for the transmission planners until earlier this year. They had never used AUD before, most of them. They were on straight AutoCAD before that and worked and did their designing. They drew a pretty picture in AutoCAD and then did their designing in our design tool, Design Manager. Since we've gone live, it's been about 150 work orders per month on average, and so that's where we're at so far. Our AUD implementation, it's integrated with our design tool, which is Design Manager, our system of record, which is SAP, and our mapping tools, which is GIS-based. We use Utility Design Hub for EAM and GIS. Our drawings are required to be geo-referenced, partly for pole locations, and also we are designated high fire risk areas, and that has different material requirements, different items that have to go for high fire versus non-high fire. So those are noted on our station callouts. Material must be published from AUD to Design Manager to adhere to the mandatory requirement, because they were still trying to just draw a pretty picture in AUD and then design in Design Manager. Have some of our transmission planners that are on the older side that don't like a lot of the computer implementation. They would, if they could have their choice, they'd still be hand drawing. So we had to make it mandatory for them. It's been going pretty well. There's only been a couple exceptions that we've had to do. Our underground implementation is not fully built out yet. We can't do pull calcs for transmission, so they still get exceptions to do things outside of the tool for underground. I'll do a couple of demonstrations. I recorded them, so hopefully they play well. They look like they were playing well when I tried them out. We have what's called non-coded material in transmission. So there's items that we don't have CUs for. So we created generic CUs. They're GNCU dash, overhead 55 or underground 54 or whatever. And then we can have we had a specialized costing screen, sort of a costing screen that fed directly into the costing screen in Design Manager. So this is how the non-coded material, how we can put that in, how we do our pole head callouts, our 3D pole heads, and our guying. And so in non-coded material, I'll play the video and kind of talk through it as it plays. So we start out, I have a remove and replace station that already has the material in it. So checking this, I've chosen station 2. And on the pole, I can add material by clicking the plus sign, add the create feature. It brings up a drop-down list. I scroll to the bottom of the drop-down list and choose add item. My defaults are set to add the generic unit for the add items. So now that I have a non-coded unit in the station, I can go to the electric tab, to the non-coded material, and this is the specialized screen. So for station 2, because that's where I put the CU, that CU shows up there, and under the CU, I can go add pieces. So I can click add here, and then I can type in whether it's backhoe or pole delivery, and then put a cost in. So these are all manual costs. These are one-off costs that are different for every location you ever go to, or there's, engineering costs that you're given from your engineering department for specific sites and specific structure. Whatever extra costs that are not part of your standard CUs, we could add in here. So now that adds that to the bottom of my station. My pan was not working for whatever reason, so I have to do it by manual. Reselect my station 2. You can see that the CU is in the station, and in material editor, we can go and check, and it shows that the generic CU is in my material. And if I open up to see the child items, you can see the pole delivery, the backhoe, and scrolling over, you can see the price and the totaled price that gets added into the work order and then sent, when published material, it's then sent over to Design Manager. For transmission, we have pole head callouts that are standardized in our standards books, our transmission overhead standards. So this particular one, TO 324, it shows the configuration of how it's supposed to be built, and the bill of material is set, all the nuts, bolts, staples, washers, everything that goes with it, all the SAP material, that's all part of our CU kit. And then when we place them on a map, the logic of AUD, we've had it configured in that it selects the correct insulator and clamps based on your voltage and your wire size. And so when it sets it in your station, all that is already set for you. You don't have to think about that. I didn't show that particular part of the call out, of setting the call out, but on this, I had a line drawn, and each of these poles is set to a different pole head. And you can set, we have pole head detail call out, so you can put on your map a picture of your pole head so that at a quick glance on your map, the crew can see which pole head they're going to be expected to build. So here I've drawn the line, select the whole line, and then, so it brings up all of your material in your feature editor. I've chosen just the pole heads. And then I go to insert callout. And since I've selected so many, it asks me XY coordinates. So it's from the location of the pole. So I choose X, I left it at 5. For Y, I went to 25, and I don't want to rotate at all. So it places them all at the same time. Found out I had a scaling issue, which I hadn't seen on these before when I did the video. But I can go into properties, right-clicking on the properties, highlight them all, and then I can go in and change the scale of them, which brings them from 12 down to 1, because I probably have my units mixed up with feet and inches. And so now you can see all the different pole heads that are on this line. And so even at a quick glance, because our pole heads are so standardized, the crews know what they're building, even just off a quick glance like that. Your station callout will have your specific material, but it gives them kind of an easy heads up on what's coming. And then our 3D pole heads, so select the line. I have, this one's 326 pole head on all of these. I can go to the View tab, display the 3D, and then it shows the 3D pole head in here. I can zoom into a single pole. This is the top view, so you can see the insulator sticking off to the side. And if I go into kind of a corner view, it brings your whole map out, and you can zoom in, and you can see it has the pole head, the conductors on the pole, how far depth the pole is set, and it kind of gives you a more 3D view of even your overhead. The last one is we set up our guying. Our guying is set by kits as well. Our kits include the anchor and the guy. All of our guys are either 3/8, 7/16. The kits can go to either one, so you can select either one. You can upgrade. You can put insulators in the guying insulators in. You can do a porcelain insulator as the basic, or a fiberglass insulator. Replace the porcelain with a fiberglass. You can upsize your anchor, and so this will show some of that as placing an anchor on the pole. So my defaults is set to a rod with plate. I chose, in this particular example, I chose a down guy that already had an insulator in it. So select the pole, can add a feature to the guy, for a guy feature to the pole. So then it sets the anchor and the guy all together, as it thinks. And if I select the anchor and guy, so now here, that's the standard based on the kit that I chose. If I want to, I can come in here. Even though it already has an insulator in it, If I select true, because I forget that it has an insulator in it, because our kits are kind of mixed up, even if I select true, it's not going to add an extra. The logic is set. Jim and I worked on this for a while. The logic is set that it won't add an extra one. It's not going to do anything at this point. If it didn't have an insulator and the anchor on the guy, it would have added it. So now here, if I want to change that porcelain insulator to the fiberglass insulator, because I'm in a hi-fi area and that's what's required, now it has changed that bottom insulator to a fiberglass insulator. It changed the SAP code inside the CU, and it now has replaced the porcelain with the fiberglass. And for an anchor, it sets the 1-inch rod for a 20-inch anchor as the standard. Now, if I want to upsize it, I don't have a kit for the upsized anchor. So I can choose to upsize it to the 1¼ inch anchor rod. And it has changed my CU kit to a different plate and a different anchor. And now I realize I've done my pole loading. I don't need the big anchor. I can go back to the regular anchor, and it puts my SAP codes back to where it was to begin with.